Okay, the AI songwriting debate should be over, but it roils on in songwriting forums across the global internet. Um, I want to share with you something that a lyricist that I respect, and I respect as someone who's serious about his songs, serious about his craft, serious about his aspirations. Something he's written that just coincidentally kind of coalesces a bunch of piecemeal arguments that I come across a lot in songwriting forums, mostly from lyricists or novices, but I'm going to focus on lyricists who are contemplating or have already begun using AI to write the music for them. Let me start with what he says, and then let me share some thoughts with you. He says, with respect to music platforms like these, the success or failure of AI music is in the hands of musicians. As much as musicians must despise great lyrics over crap music, I'm going to bleep him just a little bit, but you know what he really said. Lyric writers really hate when great music is drowned out by crap lyrics. I'll say that part again. As much as musicians must despise great lyrics over crap music, lyric writers really hate when great music is drowned out by crap lyrics. If more musicians would collaborate with writers they think are worth the time, and by writers he means lyricists, great music could be made. Instead, lyricists, that's my clarification, beg for musical collaboration and get ignored. I watch it happen every day over several platforms. That's what creates the draw towards AI. I've been tempted to try it myself. Musicians are under no obligation to collaborate, of course, but when they don't, they push people towards an almost ready and waiting AI. Okay. I think, like I said, that he encapsulates some very prevalent attitudes. There's some widely held opinions and widely held attitudes from lyricists. I think he voices some frustration that's common. Certainly, I see a lot of lyricists like, come on, who wants to work with me, looking for collaboration and getting a lot of crickets. And I'll talk about why I think that is, and kind of how to set your expectation there, and maybe some hard truths from my perspective about some factors that come into play there. But first, let's start with the AI part, because what he's really saying, in essence, here is, because this is in the context of AI music, he's saying, you musicians complain a lot about AI music, and they do. You musicians complain a lot about AI music, but you're part of the problem, because there's a bunch of the people who want to use AI music are the people who are like begging you to collaborate with them. You won't do it. What choice do they have? Of course they're going to turn to AI music. They're not going to stop and go home. They're going to do what it takes to get across the finish line, to get their songs, get their songs to come to life. That's what he's kind of saying. Now, hard breaks. Let's do a sanity check. Here's the problem. His argument is fatally flawed. And it's understandable, because he clearly subscribes to the widely held but inaccurate notion, and I subscribe to this too for a while, as I've detailed before, that when you use AI to write, you own it. You don't. That's the shocker, and that should be a deal breaker. And here's why you don't own it. Here's in a nutshell. And I've covered this before, and I'm not an attorney, so check out Top Music Attorney or Google the human authorship requirement to see what I'm talking about. In a nutshell, and this is true in the United States, EU, UK, Australia, pretty much the whole world, because copyrights are kind of semi-standardized by treaty, and it includes this element. So I'm just going to be talking about US copyright, and I'm, again, not an attorney, but you can check me out. This is easily verifiable. And this just talks about writing music with AI. In other words, so let's take the situation where you are a lyricist who has written some words you didn't write any music and you have AI write the music to your song for you, you can't copyright what AI contributed by law. You don't own it, you can't copyright it. Because of that, and that's the human authorship requirement. You can copyright your part, what you contributed, but you have to declare, and you cannot copyright. Now, and just to be clear, in case you didn't know this or understand this, that extends to, doesn't matter if you then have human musicians play what AI wrote, you still didn't write it, you still don't own it, you still can't copyright it. A lot of people think there's like a loophole there. I get that all the time. He doesn't say that. But I see that all the time. People like, silly rabbit. I'll just get real musicians to play it. I go into a whole lot of who's going to know. I have a whole other video about responses to the backlash over saying this. But it's just a fact. Okay, I've made no secret of the fact that I don't like AI music, that I'm opposed to it in principle, that even if that sort of deal breaker wasn't in place, that I still would be against it, but that's entirely beside the point. So why is it a deal breaker? Okay, because fact, you can't copyright it. By extension, no professional, opportunity is going to want to touch you, period. You can't publish it. You can't get it placed. You're not going to get a record deal down the line. What do those things mean? Publish means someone's going to, in essence, buy your song or option your song or represent your song and try to see if they can get, a country artist or someone else to record it. But you wrote it, and you're gonna get, that's publishing. Okay. Placement is talking about getting a sync placement. In other words, like in TV or film, like getting your music used, as like background music in a movie or a TV show. And then, obviously, getting a record deal is. So, but none of those things will happen. Like if you use AI to write it, you just shot yourself in the foot. You went down a dead end road. You painted yourself into a corner. So it stands to reason, and this should end the debate, if you have serious aspirations for things like that, if you want your song to go places, don't use AI to write, because it will prevent you from going places. That's as simple as that. A lot of people don't know that. I didn't know that at first. It's not intuitive. I didn't assume that was the case. I didn't like AI, but I thought, oh well, here it comes. I guess there's going to be, people doing that. But actually, if you have serious aspirations, like he does, don't use AI, because it's going to prevent you from moving any further. It will. Here come all the people out of the shadows to spin their various, kind of logorrhea of reasons that many of which are probably AI generated counter arguments that don't make a whole lot of sense and don't really address what I just said. It's as simple as that. Okay, covered that before. I'm not going to do too much more of that right now, but let's move on from that and say, okay, so given that that's the case, here's my response to him. Remember, his first sentence was, with respect to the music platforms like these, the success or failure of AI music is in the hands of musicians. And I've sort of summarized, synthesized his points to me. He's basically saying, if you musicians don't like AI music so much, play ball. We're all begging you to collaborate with us. You won't do anything. We're going to be forced to do this. So, with all due respect, he's wrong. The success or failure of AI music is in the hands of legislators. It would take a change to the law, to the copyright law, to make that viable. Commercially viable, professionally viable to move on, to go places, to do something with it, beyond just, your own amusement. And so that falls apart right there, and it's not his fault. I totally understand. Like I said several times, I thought that too. That would have made sense to me, whatever, a year ago. Um, so the truth is, I'm not threatened by AI music. AI music is not, not a threat to me and what I do. What I'll tell you, who's gonna consistently get, beat me out of opportunities is the great full kit full kit songwriters, not necessarily singer songwriters, but full kit songwriters who can do it all and are hustling and are outworking me and out networking me and hungrier and more willing to polish their material to kind of to fit different niches and to be a little more chameleonic, to be more flexible and not be like me, a niche songwriter whose identity is being a little off the beaten path and for whom fewer opportunities exist to begin with, and also who, truth be told, could definitely be getting off his butt a little more often about it. So, that's me, and 50% of the people in the room, at least, are not really working hard enough, not really doing what it would take to grab the brass ring, as it were. And that's on us, not on AI music. AI music's not what's making it hard to do that. A lot of it's I'm making it hard to do that, and a lot of it is that there's just a glut of super talented people who are at least as good as I am, who are outworking me and playing ball the right way. So, what about these lyricists and the collaboration? Is it real? It is. I think he's right. It is very hard. I see it. I know. I can tell. The collaboration struggle is real. There are a lot of lyricists in these forums who are looking for collaboration, who are asking for it and putting themselves out there, and not getting much back. Not getting many takers. And to me, it's kind of obvious why that is. And it's a combination of factors. It starts with this: the field is tilted against them. There's way more lyricists looking for music than there are music writers who need lyrics. Now, he implies something that I don't think is true in my observation, but he talks, it's the whole crap lyric, crap music sentence. Let's see. As much as musicians must despise great lyrics over crap music, in other words, by implication, you guys hate this AI music that you say is such crap. You hate these great lyrics over this crap AI music. Lyric writers really hate when great music is drowned out by crap lyrics. In other words, you guys can't write lyrics. You're only good at writing music. Okay, now, I've been at this a long time, 40 years or so, just shy of 40 years I've been writing, in songwriting and networking with other songwriters. I have a degree in music composition. I got bona fides shy of I'm a hit songwriter. Okay? And so I'm gonna have to call baloney on that just a little bit, because here's how I see it. Actually, this pool of lyricists, most of them are novices, and also, since there's a lot of them, and I've just talked about the tilted field, most of the songwriters who are on these forums are full kit songwriters who do it all, like me, who write music and lyrics, and are capable and adept at both. So here's what I observe. As a group, on the whole, these lyricists seeking collaboration, and there's a reason for it, which is that, and I'll get to that in a second. On the whole, their lyrics are not particularly special. They don't stand out. They don't wow me. And I've talked about in a recent video, there's a couple easy fixes that get many of them kind of up a step into the game a little better. It has to do with song structure and hyper consistency. But I'll refer you to that video. But here's really the truth of the matter. I feel that I am as good or better than any lyric I've seen in any songwriting forum as just a lyric. That is not to say that there are no people who write better lyrics than me. But I don't think that in general, haven't come across that so far. I have come across it in my life. My collaborator in Sunhouse Branch is someone I've known since middle school, old dear friend, who is brilliant and a great writer and has, he's my intellectual and artistic equal, and he has a very different approach and a very different way of saying things, and it's a breath of fresh air, and that's what draws me to collaborate with him, is that the way he says stuff is very different from how I would say it, so that exercises different muscles for me to take his lyrics and make music using those thoughts, using those phrases, using that raw material, instead of the cohesion of my full circle thought process. That's interesting, but he's very good. He impresses me. I do get impressed by some people's lyrics, for sure, but they tend to be full kit songwriters, just because that's most of who's out there. So the sample size is different. I could be super impressed by someone's lyrics. In fact, I did a video of one time where, well, I wasn't bowled over, one of the most impressive lyrics that was presented strictly as a lyric that I ever saw, where I knew, oh, this is very usable. I mean, that's high praise. This is very usable. This'll go. Yeah. So part of it is that writing lyrics, and this is why it's just a theory I have, writing lyrics is kind of the entry point for most people to songwriting. If you had to say to a room full of people, your assignment is to write a song, writing the words is the part that they could cling to. Writing the music would be the more difficult part, the more challenging part, where some people would kind of dive in and figure it out and do it. Some people might kind of already have that skill, they just haven't been exercising it that way. They're little Wayne Brady's, and they think of tunes, hum little tunes in the shower all the day long, all the live long day. But we all are already very verbal, and we know how to express ourselves with words. And so that's typically, when people write their first songs, that's the part that they kind of, galvanize around. That's the part that they feel most comfortable with and confident with. And that is what, in fact, is happening with a lot of people who are lyricists only. They want to get going writing songs. They're real comfortable with the lyrics, like we all were, we all are. Taking that leap, getting a little dangerous, writing some music, like I said, I think I said already, we can think of people who are famous musicians where their lyrics are really what draw you in, and their music is okay. The music is sufficient, decent, but not special. And there's also the opposite. There's people who write really great music, and if you were to write their words down and look at them, you'd be like, these words did the job. I remember them, but they don't really unlock the inner portals of my soul. Not like that deep. And then there's some people who can do it all, for sure. So the real struggle with lyricists finding collaboration is that, if you're not getting collaborators, first look in the mirror and make this assumption: your lyrics aren't special enough. You might be at the same table as these, because most of the people that you're trying to move to collaborate with you are themselves lyricists. they're full kit songwriters. They can write words too, and they understand the process of, they've been down the road many times before of how to make those words fit song structure and be hyper consistent so they can fit into a melody. They know what's up. They know what's ahead, and they maybe are a little more poised to do that. They might have that craft a little more under their belt. Your lyrics might be in that ballpark, but why would they pick yours over theirs? Just because you've done a good job, and maybe you've done a good job. So, two lyricists who are looking for collaboration, my advice is kind of, I don't know, two or threefold here. Let's say, first, understand the real game, which is you got to write hyper consistent lyrics that fit into a typical structure, which you need to know what the structures are and which one you're using. And you need to understand the assignment is, we've got a certain number of melodies which your words have to fit precisely inside, and that you don't have as much play as you might think you do. And that being like really grabbing my attention with how excellent you are is a necessary element. And then also, you got to pierce the veil. You got to get out there and like find somebody whose music you like and approach them about it. Say, I dig your songs. I wondered if you'd be interested in collaborating. And then you need to kind of be ready that, like if you approached me, I would say I might be. If show me your most excellent lyric, and if I kind of dug what you were doing, I might be up for it. I would say back to you, I'm going to write the music, and that's going to be that. Like, I don't have the time or commitment. Like, this is my level of commitment. I will finish this song, and it will be done. But I want your commitment that when I do that, I can then go record it and release it and talk about it, and not just it goes into a vault where you listen to it, you're like, actually, I kind of wanted more of a Chris Christopherson thing. Actually, that's not what I had in mind. And, the thing I said was maybe a little too specific, but I've heard that before, and it was my own fault that I heard that. I knew that I was kind of going out on a limb, and I was pitching something to somebody that I knew was pretty good, and it serves me right that they were like, I had more of a Chris Christopherson thing in mind. That happens all the time. Like, I want your commitment, so reach out to somebody who you like what they do, and then put yourself in their hands. If you truly can't write music, then you don't get to like be a musical director at the same time. Unfortunately, you're not at that stage. Like, so put a lyric that you're comfortable with. Whoever that you've selected, like, go down the list one by one and reach out to people who you actually like their music, and just say, I'd like you to do your thing, and I'm ready. I could commit this lyric. They're probably gonna polish it if you haven't made it hyper consistent. Got to tell you, and that was almost always necessary, as I cover in other things. But I know nobody watches any of the videos, let alone goes and watches another one that I point you to. Anyway, in conclusion, I know it went on too long. Hopefully it's fun. Hopefully it's interesting. Hopefully there's something in there that you learned about something, or that something to think about. So in conclusion, here's the thing, is that I don't want this to sound cold. I don't want this to sound like I'm a total jerk, but here's the deal, is that my problem with AI music right now is that it's cluttering up what I want to get out of songwriter forums. I want to listen to people's songs. I don't want to listen to a thing and then realize, oh, this is AI. This is a dead end that I've just wasted time on. And then I'm just to check and be sure that, did they write it with AI or did they just demo it with AI? I don't like demos with AI, but it is a different kettle of fish. And then, I just wasted whatever little time I have during the day to check out a few songs and give feedback if they wanted it. I just wasted that. I'm getting way too much of it. It used to be easy for me just to I'm going to skip the lyrics. If the first paragraph, if the first stanza doesn't grab my attention, I'm just going to be done. It used to be very easy to just say, I'm not into that. I'm not into the effort it takes to read through stuff and then have the same critique, probably, that's going to get ignored, probably, of, hey, you have 6 verses and that's a lot. We really want this to be, in a standard format. You have different numbers of syllables from verse to verse, and that's going to be a problem when it comes time to put on a melody. Now, what I'm listening to is an AI demo of that same trouble, and then I'm wasting my time. So, not to be cold, AI doesn't threaten me, and you shouldn't use it if you're serious. Instead, if you're a lyricist or you're an aspiring songwriter, just dig in and get good. Become a full kit songwriter, even if you might be looking for a collaborator as well. Don't be dependent on something else needs to write the music, and it might be AI, because right now that's not viable. You're shooting yourself in the foot. You take yourself out of contention. You can't move on with that. Your song will be worthless having the music written by AI. And don't take it from me. Go look that up. Don't come at me either with your AI arguments. All right, I know it's way too long. Take it easy. Till next time. I'm talking myself out of doing any more of these AI videos. But you tell me, do you like them? Are they fun? Do you agree? Hate them? Whatever. Yeah, I know. They're not that good.